right, today we're interviewing Karen Chisum. Karen's just retired from Texas State University. She coached volleyball for 40 years. She accumulated over 900 wins, which is only 3 other coaches in the NCAA have been able to accomplish. 11 conference championships and 8 Coach of the Year awards. So welcome aboard.
Well, thanks. I appreciate you having me.
So we just, I think you're a great asset for younger coaches, and just wanted to ask you a few questions and tell us a little bit about your story and how you got started in coaching.
Okay, it's really interesting. I know growing up, I was going to be one of 2 things. Law enforcement. My dad was a law enforcement guy, or teaching. But I was afraid of the dark, so I thought, I'm in trouble if I get a call at night, so I better not go the police route. Anyway, I followed one of my cousins up to West Texas, which is now Texas State. He went to school up there, and he was my best friend. So went up there. I played tennis and softball, actually. I'd started playing tennis at a young age, and I was pretty decent, so I played on the tennis team. Got out, and typical back then, this was 1972, got a middle school job and started teaching and coaching. And at that point, coached everything: volleyball, basketball, track field, gymnastics, whatever it was at that level. But I had a tremendous colleague, and she was all into volleyball. So I learned a lot that way. And then I went up to the high school, San Marcos High School, taught for 2 years. The head coach was I laugh now because she was an old lady, and probably at that time she was 55 or 60. I'm young, 21, 22 years old, and related to the kids well. The kids looked to me as the head coach and stuff. But anyway, then got an opportunity to go to New Braunfels High School, which is 15 minutes from here. Actually, I live in New Braunfels now, and got the head volleyball job and track job. And I was fortunate with the student athletes. I don't know that you know the name Nell Fortner. If you were a basketball individual, you'd know it. She went to UT and played basketball and volleyball. And then she was she was a women's basketball Olympic coach in, I think it was 84 and 88. So then she was an ESPN analyst, and she's now coaching at Georgia Tech. She went back to coaching. But anyway, she helped me build a program. We went to state, and the next thing I knew, I had a call from Southwest Texas. And again, I had just graduated from there 3 years ago. Knew some people. And with my background, Doug, I would never be today. You wouldn't get the job. Okay. Right. But we were small. Actually, at that time, AIAW, because NCAA did not even allow women's sports at that time. But I went up there and assistant coach for 2 years, and then moved on to the head job in 1980. And like you said a while ago, did that for 40 years. And never at that time, I'm 28 years old when I go up there, did I foresee being at Southwest Texas, several name changes, several athletic collegiate divisions, and to retire from there. But I love kids. I love teaching, and I love the energy, and I love competition. And things just worked well.
Right.
I myself, I think, with good people and stuff. And if you followed my career, I had 2 assistants, Tracy and Sean, who were with me until I retired. We had 72 years of tenure at one place, and that was at Texas State. We were the longest tenured staff in the U.S. And it's just a great place to be. And again, surrounding myself with good people and good things happen. Right. Basically.
Right. That's from what I pick up the most there. You kind of just dived all in. You figured it out. Yep. You kind of learned as you went.
Again, I think that was one of the things people said. How'd you do that? No, I was an athlete. His sister was 2 years older. She played volleyball in high school. We went to Pecos High School. I couldn't because tennis was a spring sport and volleyball was a spring sport back then. So you couldn't know. I mean, a girl couldn't do 2 sports back then. My gosh, that's too strenuous. And so I played tennis. She played volleyball. I watched it. I knew the game. Just never played it. Right. But got out, got the job, start going to clinics, start talking to people. You have mentors. You watch. Well, it wasn't videos, and I guess we were back at the 8mm cameras. I don't remember. But yeah, I just learned as I went along.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a little bit how I got started. I kind of got thrown in Korea, just was an assistant golf pro and went there and wasn't teaching full time and just kind of dove in and had to get after it. Had to learn on the go, and I think that's a valuable way to
go. Exactly.
It's a valuable way to learn, I think, just from my experience. I mean, you get beat up, there's a lot of adversity, but at the same time,
you say that when I add this, because of course, then I learned how to dig and hit and serve and all that good stuff. I could run the drills, but as I went on and my staff grew and I aged, you don't have to do it all. That's why you have staff, or you have good athletes that can do the drills or can do these and teach them. I think the biggest thing is that I could relate to the kids. I could relate to people. I could motivate. So it's not, to me, it's not all about teaching the skill. It's about team chemistry and motivation and getting them to play together.
Yeah, can you share any secrets or anything that you learned over the years that you applied that from when you started to what worked better?
Well, again, as I said, I think on a personal note, I could relate to most of the kids. Now, believe me, I wasn't best friends with them. I mean, it's one of those love-hate relationships. They hate you while you're coaching them, and then 10 years while they're out, you get these letters that say, "Oh my God, Coach, I can't thank you enough for what you taught me." But a matter of relating to the players, motivating, high energy. That's one of my big things. I think a coach has got to have high energy and be enthusiastic, and there's different ways. But I think when they saw me fired up and excited about what I was doing, about that goofy white ball, well, it was white when we started, now it's blue and silver, whatever it may be, it's contagious. I think you compete. No matter what we did, I competed with the kids, and I'm not saying in the drills, but whatever we were doing, teaching them how to compete. But again, I think one of the biggest things I tell any young coach or anybody is finding that right personnel to go around you. Your associates, your assistant coaches, and I'm in a team sport. But to find that, Tracy and I, my associate head coach for 17 years, we butted heads a lot. But I didn't want somebody that would just agree with me. And believe me, she didn't agree with me a big part of the time. And Sean, they all had their own thoughts, their own minds. You come together, you collectively think about what you're going to do. And then, yes, as a head coach, I had to make that decision. But yeah, you get different thoughts and you believe and trust, and they were loyal to me. I think surrounding yourself with good people is huge.
Yeah, taking that to apply it to golf a little bit even, I think that's the head coach is the golfer, and they have to have that decision-making skill of surrounding themselves with the people that they think is going to help them become successful.
Yeah, I think it relates to anything you do, whether you're the boss of a Fortune 500, business.
Right.
But yeah, people skills to me is very, very important.
So let's talk a little bit about coaching. How did you? I'm sure you certainly had players over the years that were more emotional, and players that needed some pushing, or some players that needed. How did you figure out who needed what? Reading their personality.
Well, I think that's right. That's what I was going to say. You got to take each kid individually, and what I could do with one kid and what I did with another could be two different things. And there, it came to a point that there was times when you realize that this kid's not going to relate to what I felt comfortable doing. And I kind of would sit back and let them develop their own style, and maybe one of my assistants would take them over. But again, you never can relate to whichever student athlete there is. But there was times when I had to back off and say, "Stop, Karen, it's not working," and find another way, or instead of giving her all the attention. This is one thing we learned with kids that were really defiant, and not real defiant, but maybe not my ideal type student athlete. Instead of giving them all the attention, look away. Quit giving them the attention. They want the attention, and focus on the others. And there was at times, Normie, they'd come come back in. So you just learn to deal with each of the individuals and whatever it is that she needs. And again, if I couldn't give it to them, hopefully one of my assistants could.
Sure.
Or you take a peer, take one of their peers, which is the team captain. You know, could she relate to her better? I think there's a lot of different ways you can. And yeah, through my career, there's a couple of kids that it wasn't going to work, you know.
Certainly.
She wasn't on the team any longer. I fixed that.
No, I think that's a great insight because from my job dealing with parents and juniors that want to be successful, and are they they're working hard to say play college golf to get to your level. So I would consider myself pretty tough, and some of them don't take to it, and it's finding that right. They might go find somebody else to be able to be their coach, which I'm totally okay with, being fired for that reason.
No, you're absolutely right.
But it's interesting to get your point of view of having the same struggles, because I'm seeing them at a younger level most of the time, and then they're getting to your level, then they're maturing, and it's hard for a parent-child-coach relationship sometimes in that time period. I'm sure you had some parents that you were dealt with as well. Very seldom.
And I say that because at the collegiate level, as I was recruiting, and in fact, you go to the home. You just share your philosophy, what you want. I had a very open door policy, even for moms and dads, except I told them from day one, I'll talk about anything except playing time. Playing time I would not discuss with a player. I mean, with a parent. But anything else, I was more than happy to talk to them about.
Right. That's brilliant. So when I worked in Korea, we kind of had the same rule that parents weren't allowed to be on the practice tee. They would be there all day, but they weren't allowed out on the line while we're coaching, hitting golf balls, and they could be involved, but they couldn't be involved while we're coaching.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And again, even for parents, for fans, for boosters, administrators, I always had an open door policy with practices. Anybody is welcome to come in. And again, one of the reasons I wanted our student athletes to get used to distractions. You know, you're not going to play volleyball in a very quiet facility as you might with golf. You're going to have distractions. You're going to have people yelling and screaming and cheering and all that stuff. So I was fine with distractions. It was good for the kids to learn how to do them.
So when you were out, relate this for a college athlete, your recruiting style, what were some things that you were looking for? Background, skill level, what were some of the stuff that you were looking for?
Volleyball-wise, of course, athleticism is always one of the first things you're going to say. Jumping ability, and again, depending on the position we were for, work ethic, I think that is huge. We definitely always wanted to go to kid practice. Work ethic, energy, like I said. I love getting to know the family because I recruited the whole group. I didn't just recruit a student athlete, and I told them that from day one. And getting to know their background, Doug, I think is very important. So you can understand sometimes how she would relate or answer or react. I think that's important. But yes, in my sport, the athleticism, the work ethic, you can teach almost anything. If they've got some natural, and not always natural, but if you're a good teacher, you can teach it and stuff, but they got to want it. Desire, passion. That's a word I used with kids throughout my whole career. Passion. You've got to be compassionate. And I think, again, golf, I didn't know anything about golf until a couple of years ago, and all of a sudden I became pretty compassionate about it and really worked on it and like it. But, yeah, compassionate and passion is a big key word.
Yeah, I think as a coach, I think coaching becomes the sport becomes our hobby. It becomes everything, right? To be great, you probably got to be totally consumed. Like whether you're a great volleyball player, a great golfer, great coach, you got to be totally into it.
You saying that, and I have told every kid I recruited in Karen, I was never a 24/7 volleyball person. And I say that because when I came home, I did not bring it home with me to my partner or whatever it was. Very seldom did we talk volleyball when I got home. I also knew I needed something besides volleyball in my life. So I may have never been a national Division I champion, but I had a very well balanced life. And again, I lasted 42 years, well, plus 6 in the high school, 8 years, and not being burnt out. I got some great friends that you know, and I call them golf nerds. Because to me, everybody I've ever met with them were golfers.
Right.
I worry about them sometimes. Do they have something else in their life besides golf? And we joke about that a lot. But, yeah, I will never say my life was consumed with coaching and volleyball. But there was in my life also.
Right.
Well, I didn't want to get burned out. And I would always tell my young assistant coaches the same thing. I had one that stayed with me 17 years until I retired, that when she first came, she'd stay there 48 hours a day if I'd let her, which was great, but her husband was out, work, this, that, and the other. But I was worried about her getting burned out. Mm-hmm. So I think you got to find that balance.
Totally agree. I think one thing that's nice about golf, though, is even though you might be coaching, you can still be playing and competing. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword of putting it on the side and thinking about yourself a little bit.
Yeah, it can be recreational also.
Right.
Good point.
Right.
Good point.
So how's your golf game coming along?
Well, it was coming along pretty good about 2 weeks ago. I took a golf course when I was in college. So you learn kind of grips and all that stuff. But then it never went anywhere. And probably up until 3 years ago, I bet I didn't play 10 times. Mm-hmm. And then the golf coaches came at Texas State. I got the books written. They started helping it. And then it kind of, once you get decent, and I say decent, if I hit a 92 or a 94, I'm excited.
Right.
But it's fun. But the reason early on, Doug, I liked it because I got out of the office and I understood I was participating. I wasn't competing. I'm a competitor. Everything I did, I competed in, but not golf because I didn't play it enough. I wasn't good enough. And I got out of the office, got away from the telephone, got away from the kids. And that was my relaxation time. So I'm glad golf's in my life. I'm ready to get back on the court.
Yeah, you're going to go compete a little bit, right?
No, I didn't say that. I love scrambles.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think you can teach that competitiveness? Or is that something we just learned growing up?
Well, I think it's nice to have that knack. But yeah, I think in practices, everything we did, we made it competitive. Whether we were running lines, it was competing and teaching kids. You know what? That's what life's about. That's what life is about. Life is a competition. If you want to succeed when you get out of here, you better learn to be a little tougher, a little bit more aggressive. Learn to compete with somebody. I do think a lot of it's instilled, and that was probably, again, one of the things, I don't know if I mentioned when we were recruiting, to find that competitive spirit in the kid. And man, there were some, I can tell you right now, when we recruited them because of their competitive. You knew they were going to make your team better.
Right.
They would teach their, so
they can be the leader.
That's right. I do think you can teach it to an extent, but some kids will never. They may compete, but they're not going to be that vocal, loud, get after it type.
Right. It's awesome. If there's anything else that maybe you want to discuss, those are kind of...
I've got you. When you're talking about coaching, you're talking about kids. Surrounding yourself with good people. And that's what I told my student athletes. They've heard it a lot more than once. Is that you better watch whose car you get into this evening when you go out. You get in the wrong car with the wrong person. You never know what's going to happen. So surround yourself with good people and good things happen. That's always been my mantra, basically.
No, that's...
Love what you do. Yeah.
Great advice. I love it. And I think we can pass it forward and help others be successful.
I appreciate it. And I think coaching, whether you're coaching a little golf kid or a track kid or volleyball or basketball, you've got to have a passion. You've got to love what you do and you got to love people.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate it.